Hello and welcome to the Sixth Axis Pubcast. This is Pubcast number 2, brought to you already by only 3 instead of 4. So
he died.
Currently, by the 5th podcast, there'll be nobody here.
It's the dark souls of podcasts.
So unfortunately, Cale Rooney can't come and talk rubbish with us because he has friends in the real world.
It's outrageous.
It is.
It's shocking and outrageous.
Yeah. You're also clearly labelling us as not friends or in the real world. So.
And your argument with that is?
Yeah, you're right.
I'm Dom Layton. I'm the reviews editor for The Sixth Axis. On my left is...
Stephen Curtis. I am a reviewer for The Sixth Axis.
And Adrian Danger Burrows. I'm a reviewer for The Sixth Axis, and I like playing with history as well. Hello.
Okay, first up today, the Switch is a year old.
Happy birthday to... We've got birthday cake.
And randomly we also have been given birthday cake, which generally doesn't happen to every time you go in the pub.
No, I mean, you guys can't see it, but it is enormous, and you could wedge open a door with it.
Yeah.
It's actually bigger than the Switch.
It is bigger than a Switch. And that's just a slice of it. Apparently, the other tier of this cake is going to feed the homeless tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was so big.
All of the homeless.
All of the homeless.
That's good.
That's a beautiful thing, though, in the current weather. So.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
So, Nintendo Switch, it's done pretty bloody well for being a year old.
It's done better than the Wii, hasn't it?
It's done better than the PlayStation 4.
Oh!
But has it done better than the Wii U?
Yes. I believe is the answer. I don't actually have any figures on what the Wii U did.
But the kind of the Wii U is and the Switch is woohoo.
That's a nice Mario impression.
Yeah.
Age.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's done so well?
Well, I don't have one of the Switches.
So it hasn't done
the
very
Nintendo
well.
Switches. So it hasn't done well for me. It's not that I don't want one. It's just that the idea of being able to play any game, any time, is just too compulsive for me. I don't think I could resist. It would be just too much addiction.
Okay.
So it scares me. The Switch frightens me.
There's some lovely foreshadowing to later things on the agenda.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Good.
So it's self-preservation.
Yeah, but I think the thing that scares me is the very reason that it's done so well. Is that literally you can play it anytime, anywhere.
Almost like a Game Boy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Almost like
but
that.
with slightly better graphics.
Only slightly. Steve.
I also do not have a Switch. Dom is the only
The Switch actually sucks.
But no, the reason being that I skipped the Wii U. Partly because I was doing my PhD at the time, so I didn't have the time to have all the consoles. And so I only got a Wii U for Breath of the Wild.
Sure.
And that was one of the big killer apps on the Switch and still is. And so now I've managed to pick up virtually all the back catalogue of the Wii U that I wanted to play. Yeah. So I'm in that one generation behind. Although they are now re-releasing all of those Wii U games on Switch, for me, because they're on my shelf already, that's not necessarily... I'm glad they're going to be played by more people. Mm-hmm. And the Wii U is an absolute dead end. There will come a time when you can't even replace one if your gamepad starts to break, which is going to be a worry at some point. So for me, it's not a killer, but I love the idea of it. Yeah. And I use the Wii U the way the Switch is meant to be used, as a portable machine, because I've got kids, I've got a wife, this humble brag there, who wants to watch stuff on the TV, usually property development programs. And so I will play stuff on the gamepad the way the Switch is intended to done. So for me, the Wii U works. Yeah. But obviously that only works in a radius of about 2.4 feet. So it doesn't have the portability that the Switch has done. I mean, the Switch is really like the Wii U done properly. Yeah. So for me, it's a great machine. I love the idea of it, but I can't justify it because I've still got all of those Wii U games on the shelf to play.
Yeah.
So I suppose the best person to answer this question is you, Dom.
I should have asked myself
first. You should just ignored us.
So I guess, for me, it is the follow-on machine to the Wii U. I loved the Wii U. I bought one at launch, and very much like you, I played it as a portable, probably more, in my house. So I played portable Mass Effect 3 at launch, and played the hell out of it. Played loads of multiplayer and stuff like
So
that.
you weren't even chained to the screen when you got to the ending, which everyone hated.
No, and also the Wii U version had all of the extra bits already added in.
Oh, clever.
As far as I know, Mass Effect 3 was actually quite good.
Yeah.
But all of the Nintendo experiences on here, there were loads and loads of really, really good games. Particularly like stuff like Xenoblade and
Tokyo Mirage, Captain Toad, Bayonetta. Bayonetta 2, sorry.
Bayonetta
And
2. I know that you
maybe
seem to know
not.
the names of the games better than me, but
Maybe
I
not.
did actually play all
But this
of
is
these.
because I've still got them on my backlog, staring at me on my shelf.
Judging
It's
you
just big-
for not playing
Whereas
them.
you have got rid of them because it all.
No, we still have the Wii U.
But they're not.
because
They're not
now-
sat in front of you in the same
Now
way.
it is used as a Mario Kart 8 machine because I don't allow Noah to play with the Switch on his own. However, he can bash the Wii U around as much as he likes. So when the Switch came, it was an automatic buy for me anyway. I would say in the last year that certainly Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey are easily two of the best experiences I've had playing games. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, also an absolutely fantastic, huge RPG, which I don't think I would have got through if I was just playing it tethered to my TV. Whereas I would take the Switch to bed and I'd sit there instead of reading a book and I'd be playing Xenoblade
So glad you
Chronicles
said
2.
reading a book.
Steady on.
Just
and going on train journeys and going around places in the country, and you've got it with you in your bag. I was going to say in your pocket, but that's a massive lie.
unless you've got a massive pocket, and then
Unless
it'd
you've
be
got
okay.
a really big pocket.
massive poacher's pocket, barber jackets.
Or one of the. I used to have those jeans with the giant pockets in. That probably would be pretty Switch friendly.
Did it have a Marijuana-based character on the butt?
No,
I forget the name of that make. Yeah, that's one for you fact finders. You can email that into toughcub at TheSixthAxis.
So do you think, though, that obviously it's had a really good year, the Switch, but Nintendo always seems to struggle with keeping that going for a long period of time on the fact that they only have 5 different games. So, no, it's true. Kind of. Well, 5, I just plucked that number out of nowhere. But they don't have very many
what do you
games.
mean? This is a well-researched conversation.
It's sold,
Or franchises,
It's
perhaps.
sold so much on those first-party games, and
Yeah, so what happens
by
next?
definition, they're not. It's not going to have the broad range of titles.
So I think like the issue now is, are we now going to see? We've already had these Wii U ports coming through, which is fantastic for the 14 odd million people who've bought a Switch already, and I believe the Wii U was actually about 10 million-ish. So there's already far more people in the world that own one and are now going to play stuff like Pokken and Mario Kart, and obviously Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
launching on both.
Hyrule Warriors.
Hyrule Warriors is coming. But if you look at what else is coming this year for the Switch, it's looking a bit too reliant on the Wii U material. You've got a few sort of new things coming through. Obviously, Labo is coming, but that's not going to interest everybody.
No.
And also, playing Labo on the bus, I think, is going to be problematic.
Yeah, and you certainly can't. No, if you live in the north like we do, the north of England, then Labo's going to get wet.
Yes, and a wet Labo is no good Labo.
No.
So much innuendo.
No, I was thinking Labrador. I don't know where your dirty mind is going, Adrian. There.
Probably best not.
But
saying.
I think the thing is that I'm interested in the kind of Venn diagram of people who have got a Switch and people who have got a Wii U is, because it's only because the Wii U died on its arse, really, in a kind of. So there are a lot of people who would not have played these games.
Yeah.
And some of these games, like Pokken, Hyrule Warriors, are great games, and they should be played by more people. So, in a sense, it's really good that they're coming out on a format where people can buy them.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help that gamer view from the kind of inside the gaming community for whatever that is, that it's that recycling of material that we get, and Nintendo are often guilty of. Aid's talking about there being only 5 franchises, which is true. But the playing is more to it than that. But if they're just re-releasing things that have been played by those gamers again, then how? But then you think things like Dark Souls Remastered is going to be huge.
Oh,
and I know lots of people who are going to buy it on PS4 or Xbox One and on Switch.
Yes.
Because the Switch it's not a direct competitor to the other consoles in many ways.
No.
Most people either have it because that's all they want and they're not going to play mainstream big games.
Yeah.
Or they've got it for the portability, but it's a secondary console to a PS4 or a gaming PC that has the other sort of games on it.
Yes.
So in that sense, no one's being hurt by the Wii U games being recycled. But I think the impression is because they're doing that, they're not making new games. And so people feel like it's a betrayal, if that's not too strong a word, of what the Switch was about, was a new machine with games like ARMS and Labo and Breath of the Wild that did something really new and different and innovative.
I think once again, you can't count Nintendo out, and Nintendo are amongst the best companies, I think, at not generally having too long a lead time from when they announce something to when it comes out. Okay, you've got a few things that we know are probably quite far away, like Metroid Prime 4 and stuff. But overall,
I totally get a Switch for that, by the way.
Did.
Well, I'm glad.
When that's released, this will be a different podcast.
So that's 2020.
And I might have finally actually
Teaming up
played
then.
Metroid Prime 3 Corruption after owning it 3 separate times.
Yeah.
And not actually having played it yet.
Nope.
One day.
I own it now, and I have not played it.
Yeah, I played it though. I finished it. Yeah, I know. Check me out.
We know to
Anyway.
ring when we get stuck now.
Yeah.
So,
I
but
can't remember what happened.
just because we don't know, we don't necessarily know what else is coming out beyond sort of Hyrule Warriors and Dark Souls Remastered and stuff like that. I think once we're hitting, obviously, like we'll have E3, there's going to be some huge announcements out of that, and Nintendo will have stuff. They will have stuff, and it will be ready for Christmas. I think they learnt their lesson with the Wii U of what a sparse release calendar looked like, and what that meant to people who bought one. Because people, I mean, you're literally talking whatever 4, 5, 6 months between major releases on the platform. And okay, we're definitely getting more third-party stuff already, and they're obviously seeing that there's this huge new user base of actual gamers, which arguably some of the, like your casual gamers that you got with the Wii aren't necessarily sort of along for the ride here, really. Certainly not yet, anyway. And they're seeing the worth of it. So maybe we are going to start to see Ubisoft doing a bit more. Obviously, they did Mario and Rabbids.
Yeah, but they also brought that really new IP, Rayman Legends, which has only been on every other console. It's amazing. I love Rayman Legends. It's a great game. Playing it with my son at the moment, which is an interesting experience because he's 6 and he's surprisingly proficient, but not able to do most levels.
He's terrible, face the facts.
It's all right though, because they can float along in the bubble while you do all the hard bits.
Yeah, I was thinking about. But there is, even then, there was kind of an idea of, I mean, because I don't have a Switch, I sort of follow the big announcements, but if I go into a game shop, which I don't tend to do that much nowadays, really, but because so much is just buying stuff online or digitally, that we don't kind of do that browsing thing anymore. And I think the thing with the Switch and the releases that were there is that we had loads of great, innovative games that were completely lost, like Deadly Creatures, Disaster Day of Crisis, Elodie's, Karimpa, all these games that people never played because they either just bought the main franchises, Metroid, Mario and Zelda, or they just bought the sport gaming things.
Yeah, the Wii Fit. Did anyone ever actually get fit from playing Wii Fit? Did that
I
ever
use
happen?
the Wii Fit for fitness activities.
Yeah.
And obviously I am incredibly fit.
Buff.
Yeah, buff, yeah. Because we don't have a camera, I can pretend that, yeah. But no, it is true that there was the Wii has a lot of gimmick to it. The Wii U was so much the kind of embryonic Switch. It was like the first step to doing what the Switch is doing, and it just was that odd halfway house.
Yeah.
But actually, it seems a really controversial thing to say, and it's not kind of saying that people who want lots of games are entitled in any way, but actually, for most people, the number of games released on the Wii U or the Switch is probably as many as you can actually really play. Because how many of us have got a huge backlog of games we can't play, or games we want to play but are always being put back because of whatever we're playing with friends multiplayer, or for those of us that are doing reviews have got to play for reviews. Actually, maybe there's nothing wrong with a machine that doesn't have that many games if you're going to play them and enjoy them. And the Switch has had, in the first year, a fantastic range of games that meant you could buy one a month and play it for a month and get a lot out of that. It's just, as we're discussing now, is there enough coming in year 2 to keep you happy? Or do you have to rely on a second machine?
I think we have to see more from it, which I believe will be there. I think come October, November time, there's going to be some big name stuff that maybe we've seen right at the launch, things that we vaguely know are coming, like the Shin Megami Tensei game and stuff like that. And because I think Nintendo know it has to be there, because if it's not there, people are going to start to drift away. They're going to stop relying on the Switch as being a primary console. PS4 has some fantastic games definitely coming this year. Xbox may well have.
There is also the Xbox One also exists.
It does exist, and some people have them.
No,
some people do, and there's the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X and all the various different flavours of Xbox One. And one day, if you're really good, Santa may bring you some games.
Well,
yeah. And one day they get around to releasing the XXX
the triple Xbox.
Yeah.
Which the only
Christmas
game on
comes
it will
early.
be BMX Triple X in high def.
With Vin Diesel promoting.
Oh man,
amazing! This stuff writes itself.
This is that. Yeah,
so cool.
That's full 4X.
So I think happy birthday, Switch.
Happy birthday.
Birthday to you.
We hope
you.
We hope that
can't wait
next
for some
year,
games. Happy birthday to you.
And with that, let's move on to the next thing. So our next question is: how is gaming perceived outside of the little bubble of gaming itself? We've seen some pretty big stuff over the last week or two. Particularly, one of the big ones is that Donald Trump has turned his baleful glare against gaming, as it is promoting, seemingly he seems to have agreed with the age-old thing that violence in games promotes violence among young people. Obviously, there's been tragedy in the recent, yet another high school shooting over in America. But arguably, around the world, the answer seems to be, just get rid of your guns, man.
Yeah.
And their answer is, ooh, let's look over here.
Oh, wait, what's there? It's a two-headed monkey.
Steve, what do you think?
Well, the whole idea of what games mean and how important they are is something I've faced academically. I've ran a conference at the University of Lancaster a couple of years ago on gaming and narrative, and the immediate research is that gaming is just for kids. It has no real representation. But at the same time, it always is seen as being dodgy and morally obscure and kind of potentially damaging to people's health or their mental health. So I've kind of seen both sides on that front in kind of day-to-day life. And it does seem to be this kind of cyclical nature of gaming being the scapegoat every now and again. And I'm not saying that all gaming is good. And I think one of the other things that's come up recently is the idea of gaming addiction as being a disorder by the World Health Association. World Health Organization. And that's a kind of side issue. But there does seem to be this... If you take a long view of it, the exact same things are written about gaming that were written in the 16th century, Fact-Finders, this is what my PhD was on, about the theatre. And this idea that anything new and popular was going to be damaging because people didn't understand it.
Sure.
And so there's this kind of constant thing, and you saw it in the 80s with the video nasties. You kind of see whatever happens in gaming, whenever it increases in visual fidelity, as opposed to realism, because there's a difference between those, it becomes the new thing that people say is really dangerous. But the problem is that gaming is massive. It's been headline news on BBC 5 Live this week about reaching massive revenue and it becoming bigger than any other form of entertainment.
Sure.
And yet these tragedies aren't happening in places where you don't get guns free with bank accounts. So I remember when I was a little kid, I got my first bank account at Midland Bank, and I got a dictionary. In the US, you get an AR-15. Do the maths. But there is always a bad thing, and the problem is that it's easy to cherry pick the worst examples of games.
Of course.
And it's easy to take them out of context, where you take Grand Theft Auto, for example, it's always the easy one. And it's foul-mouthed, it's sexist, it's misogynist, it's racist, but at the same time, it's satirising those views.
Yeah.
If you're, which doesn't give it a free pass, but does mean that you kind of have to be aware of the context it's presented in. And the problem with these kind of political insights into the gaming community is there's no context. There's a specific agenda that's often distraction from real dangers, whether it's gun laws or whether it's the lack of funding to socio-economic circles that need help and support. It's always like, we'll pick on gaming because it's the new thing,
Sure.
whilst at the same time benefiting from the tax revenues. But just get rid of the guns.
Top tip, Trump. Get rid of the guns.
Yeah. Especially in Halo, because Aid always kills me with his guns in Halo.
I think gaming, probably from an outside point of view, is in the best health it's ever been.
Sure.
You think now that... I remember a time when if I'd have spoken to someone about a video game, they would have had no idea what I was talking about. And now virtually anyone you talk to, if you refer to a video game, they know what you're talking about. And most people play something, even if it's not a hardcore game. I'm doing bunny ears, you can't see it. I'm doing a hardcore game. But like, people play games all the time on their mobile phones, on all sorts of things. So I think it's much more mainstream and acceptable. And I think that kind of blaming gaming for society's ills is a tactic now that's out of date and just won't stick, because I don't think anyone's buying that line anymore, really.
But then I don't think many people are buying many of the lines that Mr. Trump is feeding to us overall.
Yeah, and this is the problem. It's kind of like, in a way, this discussion is conflating the ideas and the kind of evidence-based research required to discuss whether gaming should be classed as a disorder or an addiction, distinct from any other addiction, or if is it a symptom of addictive tendencies in an individual, or is it just have something in itself that is addictive? And that's something I don't have the evidence, and it's not my specialism. I'm a doctor of literature, so I just talk about words. With Trump picking whatever out of a hat, which is usually whatever's been on Fox News 10 minutes before he tweets it. And is this the case? Are we making more of it just because the most powerful man in the world, dear God, has picked on gaming at the moment as something that he's going to look into? But it is all just a massive distraction. Violent games don't in and of themselves create violence by the simple fact that violence predates video games. That's pretty much a newsflash.
Yeah.
And as I've said, even back in classical Greek theatre and Roman theatre, there was the idea that people might be actually killing people on the stage and pretending they were doing it because it was under the kind of the thrill of the theatrical moment. Right. So these things are not new, but they keep on getting rehashed and rehashed. The problem I find often is that those targets are often, again, kind of mixed in with genuine, legitimate complaints about gaming. Because it's possible to complain and criticise games which you enjoy, but should still be better at certain things. Yeah. And just because we're saying that this particular thing is ludicrous doesn't mean that all complaints against games are ludicrous. No, of course. I just think that this particular one is just pick a scapegoat. And in this case, for Trump, it seems to be games, because his party is so dependent on the NRA.
Although, did you guys hear about that video game simulation for teachers to survive a school shooting?
Oh, God, no.
And it's kind of like a video game where you take on the role of a teacher, and you have to guide your students into certain protected areas and away from walls. And in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, or one of the bottom corner of the screens, you see the views of the person with the gun, sort of approaching down the corridor.
Which is great, because in real life you do have that.
You get that. That's teacher powers.
Yeah.
They have that. And you have to do everything within the time frame. And apparently you can change around, so you can play like a police officer. And this is a genuine simulation that teachers are having the choice of using.
Wow. And then they can choose to be armed.
I mean, the first thing about that is that what kind of world is this something that should even exist? And I don't believe that this is a service that's been offered to teachers probably in most of the other countries around the world, I would imagine.
No, I don't think so, but neither is the kind of, we'll give you a gun. That'll help.
Yes.
Have a secret gun hidden on you.
Yes, by arming more people, we will reduce...
Less people will get shot.
Well, this is it. Because a good person with a gun will always beat a bad person with a gun. We know that. That's a fact, right?
Yeah,
Cowboys taught us that.
Yeah, because bullets only kill bad people.
Yes. Absolutely. So,
but because the thing with that as well, if we think of it in terms of gaming, how many times in a game have you looked at someone with a gun and thought, I'm not going to do anything, rather than, there's some more ammo for me, and I want that weapon. If you're gonna argue that the gaming is creating this, then the people who have played first-person shooters doing this will see another gun as a pickup and a power-up. So it doesn't even hold its own internal logic.
Don't create ammo drops.
Basically.
Okay.
And what you really need is just oversized med kits in the corner, which will distract you, and then you can disarm the person whilst they're kind of working for their spawn point.
So the secondary thing about gaming, outside gaming, that's been going on as well is, obviously, recently we had the World Health Organization classifying gaming addiction as gaming disorder. So it's a clear reflection that this is an actual systemic disorder, as opposed to being a run-of-the-mill addiction, I guess. However, this week, now we've had the rejection of this classification by another paper. Dr. Curtis.
Using my doctoral title now. My Doctor of Renaissance Drama. I'll bring my expertise into this.
I thought you were a Doctor of Love.
A Doctor of Love. I'm a Professor of Love. I'm not actually a Professor of Love.
So what are the problems that they've raised with this classification of gaming disorder?
Well, the thing is that the idea of disorder makes it, and I am speaking outside of my specific research qualifications, is that disorder makes it a specific medical or neurological issue that requires evidential backing to make it specific. And is it that gaming itself, in and of itself, has qualities, aspects, or traits that make it addictive in a way that other addictions don't? Or is it the argument which is often raised that people will get addicted to something, and if it's gaming, then it probably isn't weed or alcohol or pizza or whatever?
Yeah.
And I don't know, because that's something that needs a lot more work, and it seems like the disorder classification has come before the research into it has happened.
Sure.
Partly because I think it's a big thing, and also it seems like something must be done, TM, and this is the first step to it. But that isn't to say that there isn't the potential that there could be such a thing as gaming disorder, and there is a huge amount of kind of a massive blind spot about the problems gaming can produce, and I'm guilty of this as much as anyone. But that kind of long-running joke that the announcement in every single gaming manual that you should take a break of 50 minutes every hour, and none of us do. But is that in itself, on a kind of clinical level, a sign that there is some kind of involvement in gaming that is contrary to health requirements, which would suggest a disorder or addiction? they say we need to look more into this, but we're all proud of our staying up all night playing a game because we were really into it, which is great as a gamer, but actually is, again, no different than going out and binge drinking 12 pints, which in the UK obviously we do and are proud of at certain times. But there is a kind of, it's about those internalisations of things that make us a gamer may in fact actually not always be positive, and it's about looking at them in a more holistic way and viewing them as part of our entire life. If you are gaming at the expense of any aspect of your life, then yeah, there's something that needs to be looked at, whether that's mental health, family life, whether that's because you're not getting a job because you're gaming. There needs to be ways of looking at it, but to suddenly bring out gaming disorder is not necessarily the way forward unless you have the evidential backing to kind of say these are the things we need to look at in ways of making it better.
Sure. Do you think this is part of the thing of saying that it's not going to be, it shouldn't be classified as being a disorder? Is this from an outside viewpoint, because gaming is still seen as being this immature entertainment sort of thing? How could it be a proper disorder?
We want our own proper disorder, damn it.
But when obviously if you play a lot of games, you know that level of involvement is actually fairly hard to come by with certainly most other entertainment forms. If you're addicted to, I don't know, watching movies or reading books, it doesn't put in the same hooks, I would say.
No, I guess not with entertainment, but I mean, there's tons of other addictive things that are out there. You know, I mean, just like, I suppose the big difference is why are you playing the game? You know, are you playing it because you're enjoying playing the game, or are you playing it because it allows you to escape, because it gives you positive feelings that perhaps you need and are absent elsewhere? And that's maybe the big difference. You know, are you just playing it because it's fun, or are you playing it because it means you don't have to be present with other sensations that aren't as fun?
Sure. We got a bit heavy for the podcast.
Oh, I did. Yeah. We're on a downer.
I mean, there is a societal difference which is really important to think about, in that if you say to someone that you really loved a book and you couldn't put it down, you read it in one sitting, no one says, "Oh, you might be addicted to words." And again, this isn't to defend, because I think there are definite issues with gaming, and particularly the kind of online. I mean, World of Warcraft is often cited as one of the kind of the key ones, and there are really tragic stories of people. Often, it seems, in Japan and Korea, and I forget the name off the top of my head, and I could Google it, but it'll be a lie to say I remembered it. Of the people who are basically shut into houses, ordering everything online, and spend all their lives gaming. And you hear stories of people who die whilst gaming because they can't drag themselves away, and that's in and of itself an extreme example. So there may be something about gaming, but there is also because there's a social idea that it's something you should be able to just put down at any time because it's a kid's thing.
Yes.
You don't. If you say you can't put down a book, or you watched a whole series of whatever the new thing on Netflix or Amazon Prime is, people will nod and go, "Oh yeah, no, I'm the same. Yeah, isn't that funny?" But gaming still has that kind of dirty stigma about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're binge watching 10 hours of Netflix in one go, what's the difference to playing 10 hours of video game that's still the same thing?
Yeah.
You know, you're still spending 10 hours doing something that is taking you away from your day-to-day life, whatever that may be.
And it is often about, you kind of have to get further than the sound bites and the generalisations about how much time you spend on something. This isn't just a discussion I have with my wife most days, but it kind of is. But also, if you're playing games at the expense of feeding your kids, feeding yourself, of going out and doing the basic day-to-day things you need to do to survive, if you're doing it rather than going and having a shower or whatever, then yeah, there might be something happening there. If you do it once in a while because there's a massive new game that you're really into, and you have a weekend where you do it, then yeah, that's not what people are saying is an addiction. No. And there needs to be a line, and I think gamers get really defensive over anything that might be seen as an attack on them, as we've seen ad infinitum with Gamergate, with so many different moves. Right, so anything negative about games. Anyone who says games might lead to violence, it's like, no, you can't say that because I've never killed anyone. I've played games. It's about not blowing these things out of proportion, but if there are people affected and their mental health is potentially endangered in any way by this, then no one's going to lose out by these things being investigated.
No.
So they should be taken seriously, but once the research has been done and the evidence has been brought together.
Yeah.
I think this idea of a disorder before anyone's really looked at it in great detail is it's a premature evaluation.
Yeah, I mean, I just have the thought that is gaming the problem, or is there other things in life that force you to game the problem? You know, could that gaming be anything?
Tories.
Is it the Tories? I knew it. But, like, that gaming could be anything, right? Like, what's your poison? So why... So is the gaming the issue, or is it just the fact that the escapism that you require, and what's the roots of that? Maybe we should look more at the actual roots of it than just the symptoms of our addictions.
Wow.
Yeah, deep. Powerful.
We've had a few pints now, so that was
this is it,
surprising
yeah.
me. So because Kale's
Talking
not
about
here,
addiction, that's...
because Kale's not here, it's a higher level of discussion.
Yes.
I'm not saying he drags us down, but he drags us down.
So, despite the fact that gaming is obviously in its rudest health and at its highest point in a societal sort of manner, we still have these problems which really we've been dealing with for a very long time. And hopefully it's going to get better.
Yeah, now we get to play games to take our minds off it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the games we want to play. Because the pub has rung time on our on our conversation.
If only the landlord could do something about that.
No, he's a knob. So, because of that, we thought we'd chuck in a little one, a little extra thing to talk about this week. It's been snowing, if you've perhaps noticed, around the country. It might have been cold. Your boiler might have packed up. You might have even been stuck in your car or bus or train or pyjamas, depending on where you were when the snow came.
That's when the Switch would really come into its own.
And that's when the Switch would have really worked out. So, we were going to talk about the best and the worst snow levels in computer games. So, I think the first one that came to my head when we started thinking about this, the snow levels of Mario 64. And sliding down a slide with a penguin on your lap.
And punting that penguin off the nearest cliff. Whether accidental, honest, Gov, or not.
It doesn't get much better than that, I think.
But do you actually go into a level and think, oh, this has got a new sliding mechanic to the platforming? Oh, goody. I'm really looking forward to this. Rather than, oh, God, I've spent all these hours learning the way that we actually move on this level, and now suddenly you've introduced this random sliding element that's not consistent.
But that's like ice in the real world, though, Steve. Because we know how to walk down the paths. But I tell you what, I fell on my arse yesterday.
Yeah, but you did have a penguin on your lap.
Well, that's what happens when you steal things from Blackpool Z. But yeah, no, nobody enjoys the snow level.
They suck.
They are shit.
Yeah.
It just seems like, yeah, much like real life. It looks, I love the idea of it. It looks lovely. It gives a different kind of palette to things. Yeah. But it soon becomes this horrible, slushy, uncontrollable mess that gets everywhere. And your kids stumble into the house and you tell them not to and they do. But yeah, although I haven't yet had a chance to play it because I finished Horizon Zero Dawn, loved it, and the DLC looks great and is very snowy and you can make snow angels and everything. Yeah. That seems to be a way of using it well because it kind of fits into the world. There was this northern snowy element where you get to and then it kind of takes you further into it with the frozen wastes. But if it changes the mechanics just for the sake of it, and particularly in 2D platformers, ice can fuck off.
I mean, like, is God of War this month going to be ruined by being snowy now?
Oh, that'd be terrible, wouldn't it? Kratos
just sliding
around. Although the Vikings did have a god of ice skating, so maybe an unlockable bonus power-up is Kratos gets ice skates.
See, I quite like the idea of Kratos sliding around like a pensioner trying to go to the post office,
But Kratos excels at everything, especially all of his gifts from various gods.
Kratos excels at everything until you try and do that rotating pillar with the spikes. I think it was in the first God of War game, wasn't it? And
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
he didn't excel at that with me.
No. He's very good at sex, though.
And you didn't excel.
I platinumed those games, I will say, and you can check my gamer tag for that. But that particular bit, that was not Kratos' finest hour.
No.
But yeah, it just seemed to be a thing. It's one of those gaming cliches that it will be an ice level, and it will be all that will change is that those kind of crisp controls you've mastered will be a bit slidey. When it's done well, like Horizon, like the Metroid Prime, there's a brilliant snowy setting in there.
There's a lot of snow in that game Fahrenheit, I was thinking about. In there,
Sounds like a hot game.
There's a lot. I know, but there's a lot of snow in it.
By that fantastically diverse and aware creator David Cage of Quantic Dreams.
Yep. I've got Quantic Dreams.
There's
a lot of snow there. People in showers, I think.
Where that snowy, icy zombie was boned by the woman for no apparent narrative reason. That was particularly good. But yeah, no, it's set in...
That's new to me.
And then the moment at the end where the internet did it all
Is this
along.
part of the game?
Did you skip the cutscene?
Did you skip the game?
Maybe. The game is a cutscene, right?
Character dies. The previously rational female cop decides to have the sex with this zombie.
Oh, yeah, he's the ice dude.
Yeah.
Right, okay,
and then
I'm
at the end,
with you now.
it was the internet all along. Yeah. And actually, you're looking forward to the next David Cage joint, aren't you?
Kind of.
Yeah.
It doesn't look if it's going to have snow in it. It could be improved by snow.
Snow and androids, yeah.
Snow and androids.
Do androids dream of electric snow?
Maybe. Obviously, the answer to the best snow has to be Skyrim. Skyrim is a fantastically sort of snowy place, isn't it?
Snowy,
it doesn't
but...
make you slide around, so it automatically gets better because of that. And also, it reminds me a lot of my trip to Liverpool this week, when the snow just came in across the waters.
And nothing to do with the rampaging savage barbarians.
No. They were all indoors.
Oh, the Elder Scrolls Scouse edition. That's got some stuff.
So. But yeah, it's been snowing.
Yeah.
Lots of snow.
And it sucks. I hope everybody's been safe in the snow. Because we're all right and we're nice and warm in the pub. But not everybody is. So, I think we should probably talk about our last few bits and pieces, which was last time we talked about the big games we were looking forward to for 2018, and this time round we thought that we would talk about the smaller games that we're looking to from some indie developers, which maybe people don't know about so much, and hopefully they're going to turn out to be super good too. Aid.
Yes.
What are you looking forward to, mate?
I am looking forward to... I've got a couple of ones I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to that Fossil Hunters game. We make the dinosaurs out of the fossils. And it's like 4-player co-op. And you run around the place. And it's like top-down, puzzly, adventure-y kind of game. And you find dinosaurs and you glue them together or something. I don't know. And then you make dinosaurs. And that's surely the key to any amazing game.
4 players, dinosaurs.
4 players, yeah,
What
co-op.
can go wrong?
We could all play
But
together.
did anyone play the Fossil Hunters game on DS?
No, I
Which
remember
I always meant to and never found, although
you had to use your stylus to tap away at the earth, didn't you?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it did look pretty cool.
It looked a bit like Pokemon-ish with dinosaurs and exploring and stuff. And
Yeah,
but
I think this is quite
I don't
different.
know anyone
but
who ever played
fossils
it.
are still
but,
in
but
it.
Yeah, fossils are good.
Fossils are key. And I'm also looking forward to, I can't remember the name now, I said it to you earlier, that new one from Clay Entertainment.
Yeah,
The RPG one. because they've done good games, haven't
Gives
they?
with G, doesn't it?
Yeah, Grifflands.
The Gruffalo.
The Gruffalo. Oh, yes.
Grifflands.
the
Griffla-
Gruffalo.
Yeah, I think it's Griftland.
Yes, because I liked Mark of the Ninja. They did.
Well
that was
remembered.
good. Thank you. And Invisible Ink. That was good. That was their sort of XCOM like spy game.
Yeah.
And so this one looks like that RPG game, and that'd be good fun as well, probably.
Cool.
There you go.
Ace.
Those are my
kind
two.
of- they're working through all the genres one by one.
Pretty much, yeah. And and Shank was good as well.
Yeah, Shank was
Yeah,
good. And
yeah.
Don't Starve, which was their survival
Never played that.
roguelike. Well, I know.
No.
I didn't mention it to say you hadn't. I was saying it in terms
Okay.
of them going through the genres,
Yeah.
which is good. And kind of the opposite of what we've been saying earlier on with Nintendo of just having their franchise and that's it. Clio are a great developer for doing something different every time.
Yeah.
Problem with that is obviously not all of us want to play every sort of game. And my Steam catalogue is full of lots of games that are great in that genre that I should play, but I actually go back to playing the same games because they're the ones I actually like. You haven't asked yet, but I'm looking forward to.
Steve,
there are
what
two.
are you looking forward
Well, I
to?
was looking for. We've had to postpone this due to illness of participants. Was Where the Water Tastes Like Wine, which is a really interesting narrative story-based game that the review will be up by the time this podcast is up on the site. But that's been released now, so I'm not looking forward to it anymore because it's done. It's dead to me.
Wow.
So I'm looking forward to two. I don't know when they're actually due. They've been postponed lots of times, so it's kind of like a whenever they're released. Two really interesting indie horror titles with very different kind of aesthetics and feels. One is Scorn, which has a very kind of H.R. Giger, Aliens aspect. So it's very kind of semi kind of organic, mechanic alien worlds and everything, and looks really interesting. And there's been some kind of pre-alpha footage, which you never know how seriously to take that. The other one is Agony, which has been put back and delayed, and is never kind of has that kind of woolly Q1 2018 release date still, which is you as a spirit in hell trying to escape. And seems to be lots of really kind of very bodily horror, Clive Barker-esque, possessing demons and almost Doom-like, but without the combat of Doom, but more about the kind of just the claustrophobic nature of clawing away up from hell. So yeah, they're the ones I'm looking forward to, but neither of them have a definite date. So it's that kind of, I may look forward to them forever. They may never happen.
Oh, hopefully they do.
Yeah, hopefully they will. And this is my formal putting them down as things I want to review.
Okay, I'll put it on the list.
I meant to email you that. I forgot.
So my one really is a little game called Wargroove, which is coming out, and is very much in the style of ye old Advance Wars and the older Fire Emblem games. Uses a really nice sort of. It's not exactly the 8-bit aesthetic, I suppose. What was the Game Boy Advance? Was it 16?
Yeah, the Game Boy Advance was sold as the
16-bit.
handheld SNES, so yeah, 16-bit.
But they're sort of bringing the fantasy sort of setting to the Advance Wars style gameplay.
So turn-based.
So you're moving around the grid. It's going to be turn-based, and every time your little character meets some other little enemy characters, then you'll be treated to a really nice cartoony little cutscene when they all try and slaughter each other. Really. But it's coming from a developer called Chucklefish, which is a great name for a game developer.
Yeah.
And it looks ace, particularly because I love Advance Wars, and we haven't had a real Advance Wars game for a very, very long time now.
No, it's been. And you reviewed Tiny Metal recently, which was the two of them were hyped as being of that ilk, and it didn't live up to expectations. There's also Into the Breach, which is the new one by the FTL guys, which has got a similar-ish
which is supposed to be very good as well. But I think the problem with Tiny Metal, unfortunately, was that it just felt low rent. the whole thing was just very, very budgety. It's not a real word, but it's a word that works.
So did it feel more like a kind of a ROM hack?
Yeah.
Rather than a game in and of itself with its own mechanics?
I mean, some of the graphics were pretty good. It was only a 3D imagining of Advance Wars. All of the mechanics, more or less, were taken wholesale from Advance Wars. And they tweaked them a little bit here and there, and some of those tweaks worked and some didn't. But overall, it just... I don't know, it was a bit easy as well. So it never really felt like there was much need for very advanced tactics.
So it was Simple Wars.
It was Simple Wars, yeah. But it was all right. But I think Wargroove is looking a lot more promising. I think there's a level editor in there as well, so you can make your own and share it with others if that's your bag.
When's that due?
Oh, I think this is
You don't
also
have to check, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is also Q2 2018. Yeah, currently it says.
Is that
just says
multi-format? Or?
2018. So it's coming to PC, Switch, PS4 and Xbox One. So all of the consoles.
Brilliant.
But I think I'm going to be buying it on Switch for obvious reasons.
It'll be interesting to see how the level editor is worked into consoles, because that always seems much more Steam Workshop-eye. And often I'll play those kind of games on Steam because it's much easier to do the mods, the user edited, the level editors and everything else. But in theory, it should be easy to work into on the Switch.
Yeah, and people are doing it, and Nintendo themselves, obviously with Mario Maker, have recently had some success with that stuff. Obviously, you've got all of the create stuff from PlayStation.
Although Mario Maker is the big hole in the Wii U to Switch list, really.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering if they're holding it back, but it would seem like an obvious. If you're going to spring something forward, that would seem to be the one to bring from the Wii U.
I think I would be interested to know how well that fared. I mean, and I know obviously it was towards the end of the Wii U's run, really, but it always felt a bit niche to me. And I love Mario, but I've never really had much desire to create Mario levels. Maybe that's just me, and maybe it did really well, and maybe it will end up on Switch. But maybe that's what we're going to be looking forward to for Christmas.
Yeah. So you can sit inside your little Labo box, making your own Mario level.
Out cardboard.
And Nintendo will be yours. It'll be brought to you by you.
When you wear it on your head. So, but yeah, and I think that's, off the top of my head, that's probably the only indie game anyway, is Wargroove. So I think we've covered everything that we were going to
Everything on the list.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Achievement unlocked, podcast done.
And we've even done it in time.
Wow.
So what that kind of tells you is that us overrunning last time was all Kale's fault.
Yeah.
Because he's the only variable that we've not included in this
is
one.
true. I mean, you could, for instance, say that maybe just having a fourth person's opinion on each thing, whether that's Kale or anyone else, would still overrun. But, I wouldn't say that because it's Kale's fault.
Or maybe it's because we're recording it later and we're talking 40 to 50% faster
but
than we did.
Time is an illusion. This can be listened to anywhere, which is the nature of the podcast.
And the other variable, of course, is that we have a giant slab of birthday cake.
Sugar.
And we've all had more sugar than last time.
Yes.
And I've had less beer, which means that I can actually remember what I've talked about.
I think actually, without Kale, we've all had less beer.
Yeah.
Kale makes us drink.
Yeah. So
I get a feeling none of this is going to make it to the final edit. It's everything post we've
now we've
done
gone massively over time.
yes, we were on time, but now we've spent 5 minutes berating Kale.
Yeah, this is just the Kale diss.
Anyway, this has been the Sixth Axis Pubcast, and we hope you've enjoyed it. Please join us again next month after some more exciting games announcements from GDC, which
everyone's favourite 3 letters.
Yeah.
Which some of us may be going to.
And who could that be?
It's Dom.
And yeah, so hopefully we'll have some stuff to talk about from there. I would imagine as well that we'll start to be hearing some whispers from E3, just so we can start to pretend like we know what's going on for the rest of the year. So we should have lots to talk about. Hopefully Kale will be back with us, and I hope you guys join us again too. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.